Machiavelli divided rules and aspirations of these opposing parties into lions and foxes. The lions who rely on strength, stubbornness, and force, and the foxes who rely on their wits, on shrewdness, deceit, and fraud. The conservatives are the lions, and the liberals are the foxes. Pareto elaborates this Machiavellian distinction in terms of his theory of residues. One side, the left, have a tendency to try to combine and manipulate all sorts of elements from experience. As part of their manipulation of words, they are the ones who put together complicated theories and ideologies. They lack strong attachments to family, church, nation, and tradition. They are inventive and in economic and political affairs inclined towards novelty and change. In practical conduct, they do not plan very far ahead, but count on their ability to bypass the challenges that may arise or to improvise answers. These are, in a word, Machiavelli's foxes. The lions, or conservatives, are the group of persistence, with a deep sense of the objectivity and permanence of family, nation, and church. Family pride, love of country, concern with property as a permanent part of man and family's reality are given emotional force by the lions. In economic affairs, the lions tend to be more cautious, saving and orthodox, more worried over sound money than the foxes. They praise character and duty more often than brains, and they are willing to use force to maintain the entities of family, class, nation, and the true faith to which they are attached. But understanding the nature of the fox also explains why liberals lie constantly.
No matter how we reform healthcare, we will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period.
I did not send or receive any information that was marked classified at the time.
I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Would you say you believe in the notion of rape culture?
Definitely. Yes. I think America's rape culture is extremely prevalent everywhere you look.
The Affordable Care Act has made health care more affordable, and it has created access.
Are you worried at all that her being away, even for a day, 2 days, 3 days, we don't know totally yet, could hurt her politically?
Look, 10 million Americans a week catch pneumonia.
She's not under criminal investigation. In fact, it's not an investigation. It's just a review of the emails.
We manipulated the vote with money and action, not with laws. It's a very easy thing for Republicans to say, well, they're busting people in. Well, you know what? We've been busting people in, you fucking asshole, for 50 years, and we're not going to stop now. We're just going to find a different way to do it.
Yeah, but most people have a gun. 350 million Americans, there are 310 million guns.
Right, that doesn't mean that most people have a gun. It doesn't distribute exactly that way.
But, you know, people are believe.
97% of climate scientists agree that climate change is happening in human cause.
97% of climate scientists agree. Do you think they're making it up?
97% of scientists agree that climate change is fact. It's happening and it's man-made.
But let us therefore look at how they managed to present what is actually a 0.3% consensus in the reviewed literature on that question as a 97.1% consensus. The first thing is they eliminated 2/3 of all the papers they were looking at on the grounds that they hadn't expressed an opinion. Now that is not normally how these surveys are done, but that's what they did. They knocked those out. Then they congregated together 3 levels of endorsement, only one of which was the majoritarian endorsement that most of the warming since 1950 was caused by us. They lumped that with the explicit or implicit endorsement of the consensus that we all agree with, that maybe we have contributed some warming and we don't know how much. They put all those together, and by conflating these 2 completely different definitions of consensus, they claimed there was this consensus of 97.1%.
Manipulation and deception are part of the fox's advantage. Even when liberals are caught lying or fabricating a story, it does not matter. They like the results that the lies have concluded, because the lies have shown that conservatives are bad. And if they have to lie to convince people of that, then that's okay. Again, the ends always justify the means. No lie is too ridiculous for the liberal. Biological men are actually women if they decide it so, and they can even have menstrual cycles. They'll even say Jesus was a transgender, because they want that to be the case. case, and their commitment to the relativist theory of truth means it's not lying because you can't technically prove it. Making things up without anything to support it is not lying. So saying something without any facts to support the statement is not technically lying to the fox, especially if it's something about the past or future that cannot be proven. If you can't prove it, even if there's nothing to support it, it's not a lie.
This is a case of violence with guns, video games, and mental health. Now, here's a kid who was borderline autistic with Asperger's. They have a lot of social problems.
But
They don't know how to...
no violent problems.
No. Autistic kids are usually victims. My point is that if you sit this kid in a room all day shooting people, if they have no social skills...
How do you know that?
Because
You're just making that up.
Well, he ain't no social...
There's no evidence that Asperger's syndrome people go violent from playing games. You have not one data point of evidence on that.
I'm not saying that.
Well, you just said it.
They will be careful with their language when projecting lies to their audiences and say things like might, or it was reported, or rumored. So after their claim is proven to be unfounded, they can revert to saying that they didn't say that, they just reported it, or they said that it might have happened. So they didn't lie. They'll throw out some wild statement and disinform the public and cover their tracks by posing it as a question, and they can protect themselves from their lie or blatant falsity because they never said it was true, they only asked the question.
Back to our top story, the blizzard. Every time we see a storm like this lately, the first question to pop into a lot of people's minds is whether or not global warming is to blame.
The fundamental debate that's going to be had, though, will come down to whether the Republicans can sell to the American people that they are really concerned about jobs, about people's livelihoods and all the rest of it, if they're also scratching the backs of their rich and wealthy members.
This is the real Twitter account for Canada's real Foreign Minister, Stéphane Dion. And he really did say on Friday, quote, "We must support research into the links between climate change and conflict. The Islamic State and other Muslim terrorist groups, which are committing a genocide against Christian, Arabs, and other minorities. Stéphane Dion thinks maybe it might be global warming what did it."
But the fox knows exactly what he's doing. It's commonplace in the liberal media to distort stories or subvert facts when convenient.
SourceFed has discovered that Google has been actively altering search recommendations in favor of Hillary Clinton's campaign, so quietly that we were unable to see it for what it was until today. When we type Hillary Clinton CRI into Google, the site's autocomplete function shows 3 potential searches: Hillary Clinton crime reform, Hillary Clinton crisis, and Hillary Clinton crime bill 1994. However, when you type the same term, Hillary Clinton CRI, into Google's competitors Bing and Yahoo, you get very different results, focusing on whether or not Hillary Clinton has ever committed a crime. When we searched for Hillary Clinton crime reform, the top result from earlier, there weren't even enough searches of the term to build a graph on the site, which begs the question, why on earth is it the first potential result? For comparison, we added a second search term, Hillary Clinton crimes. Look what Google gave back. Apparently, far more people are searching for Hillary Clinton crimes than Hillary Clinton crime reform. Google just doesn't want you to know or ask. But hey, maybe that's a fluke, right? We tried it again, this time to see if Hillary Clinton's much discussed potential indictment by the FBI would show up. When you type Hillary Clinton IND into Bing or Yahoo, there are plenty of indictment-based recommendations. But when you type it into Google, the top 2 recommended auto-completions are Hillary Clinton Indiana and Hillary Clinton India. Could people really be searching more for Hillary Clinton India than Hillary Clinton indictment? When we entered them both into trends, people were searching for Hillary Clinton indictment 8 times more often than Hillary Clinton India. The intention is clear. Google is burying potential searches for terms that could have hurt Hillary Clinton in the primary elections over the past several months by manipulating recommendations on their site.
They'll also make misleading documentaries to manipulate the public and rally support for their cause.
Katie Couric is venturing into the gun control controversy with a documentary called Under the Gun, but it's backfiring.
If there are no background checks for gun purchasers, how do you prevent felons or terrorists from purchasing a gun?
But that sequence with its 8 seconds of stunned silence was edited in a misleading way.
The problem is that it made our members look like they were idiots, like they couldn't answer a basic, straightforward question.
Director Stephanie Sostig, who told The Guardian this month that gun owners are being duped and sold a bill of goods by the NRA, now says, "My intention was to provide a pause for the viewer to have a moment to consider this important question. I never intended to make anyone look bad, and I apologize if anyone felt that way."
Even if the things they say are later proven wrong, it doesn't matter, because their fellow liberals will applaud their noble effort, because even though it was incorrect, it showed what was basically true, that conservatives are bad. This constant tendency to tactically mislead, manipulate, deceive, and commit outright fraud is part of the liberal culture. It is a big part of the Fox's advantage.
There seem to be more epidemics sweeping across this country now than in the ages of the Great Plagues. Reckless use of the word epidemic is more than just media hype debasing the language. Like most clever uses of words, it camouflages a hidden agenda. Personal responsibility is anathema to deep thinkers, for that would undermine their role as rescuers of the victims of society. If everything is an epidemic, then we have done an end run around personal responsibility and can now break into the clear with more government programs, which means more money, power, and visibility for the rescuers. It is an old script, but the anointed keep using it, changing a few words here and there to keep on bamboozling the public.
All of this fraud, all of this deceit, and all of this wrongdoing is of no concern to the liberal. Moral responsibility is an individual issue, not a state or government issue. Therefore, the state or government does not have to play by the same moral rules, and neither do liberals if they are trying to advance the agenda of the liberal elite.
And it's made to look like the average ordinary American is so disgusted that they just can't handle it, and they show up and they protest because the Republicans are just unacceptable. And none of it is real. It's all bought and paid for. It's all orchestrated. It's scripted. It is strategized and planned. The media plays along by making it look like it's organic and spontaneous when it's nothing more than a script that is being followed by activists. And in many cases, they're not even really activists. They're just people plucked off the park bench or the street in whatever city the activity is planned. They are paid, in some cases, $1,500, in other cases, $50, to just go out and raise hell and start fights and engage in violence. And the media's role is to tell the story that the Republicans at the rally caused it. Robert Kramer, who published Stand Up Straight, How Progressives Can Win. It's a tactical handbook for the left that he wrote while in prison. The guy is a convicted felon, and he is at the top of the food chain of the Democrat Party planning all of these so-called organic protests. Robert Kramer, the husband of Democrat Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, the guy, 42 personal face-to-face visits with Obama in the Oval Office, while in jail in 2007, while in prison, writes a tactical handbook for the left. From pages 74, 75, and 76 of the handbook, in general, writes Mr. Kramer, our strategic goal with people who have become conservative activists is not to convert them. That isn't going to happen. It is to demoralize them, to deactivate them. We need to deflate their enthusiasm, to make them lose their ardor, and above all, their self-confidence. A way to demoralize conservative activists is to surround them with the echo chamber of our positions and assumptions. We need to make them feel that they are not mainstream, to make them feel isolated. We must isolate Republicans and conservatives ideologically and use the progressive echo chamber, meaning the media and the blogs and whatever. By defeating them and isolating them ideologically, we demoralize conservative activists directly. Then they begin to quarrel among themselves or blame each other for defeat in isolation, and that demoralizes them even further.